In this video, I'm actually going to share with you 3 things that I've learned over time for the last few years that has helped me a lot on becoming a more consistently profitable day trader. Now, hear me out. A lot of times, many of us think that, we can just follow through with one strategy, buy a course, and then all of a sudden, you know how to trade, right? But yeah, I wanted to share with you guys something that really helped me lock in and finally start seeing, payouts, withdrawals from my broker, and finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because I don't know about you, let me know in the comments below, but trading can be lonely sometimes. Trading could be a pretty dark path, I'll be honest with you. Like, there was moments where I felt not only like giving up, but moments where I felt like, what am I doing? Am I wasting my time? Am I even good at this? Am I ever gonna finally understand how to trade, finally become profitable? To be honest, I felt pretty useless, pretty helpless, and that's normal. I want you to know, if you're feeling that right now, that's completely normal and totally part of the process. But I want you to understand these 3 things that really helped me level up my trading. So make sure you watch this video to the very end, because I'm going to be sharing with you guys these tips, and trust me, it's going to help you become a much better trader. You're going to start noticing a massive difference in your trading. Starting with the first one, believe it or not, it's funny because we get into trading thinking that, hey, I'm going to get some, I'm going to get rich quick. I'm going to be able to make some heavy profits. I'm going to be able to flip a larger account. But in reality, trading isn't just about flipping accounts or being able to make massive amounts of profit. You have to understand that, yes, we get into it with the intention of making money and being able to become financially free eventually, right? But when we look at it more of a long-term game, if you're just here to flip an account, sure, you can do it 1 or 2, 3 times. But the thing is, a lot of traders, they get stuck into the habit of, I'm going to flip this account, I'm going to flip this account, I'm going to flip these $50, I'm going to flip these $500 with this $1,000 into 10K, right? Could you do it? Absolutely. Could you do it once or twice? Sure. Is it something sustainable? No. And that's the problem, is that they go into it thinking that this is going to be a sustainable way or a sustainable approach to trading. And that is the biggest mistake you can ever do, is actually going into the markets thinking that, hey, I was able to flip this $50 account into over $5,000. Well, if I could do that, I can continue to do that over and over and over. But in reality, I want you to tell you the truth. What's going to happen is that's going to mess completely with your psychology, going to mess with your risk management as well, because you're going to be over trading in order to flip that account quick, right? So one of the biggest mistakes you could ever do is actually chase that dopamine high of being able to flip small accounts. Focus instead on keep working. If you're working right now, stay at your job, grab whatever funds you can. So if you can start with $500, if you can start with $1,000, do that, but don't try to flip a $50 account into $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever, right? Like I said, could you do it once or twice? Sure. Is it something sustainable? No, it's not a sustainable approach. Okay. So once you start shifting your mindset of longevity on a longer term outlook, instead of just like quick profits, you're going to start noticing that your mindset, your psychology, and your focus and the way you approach the markets is going to be completely different. You're going to approach it more like a business. You're going to take it very serious. And the more you take it that way, the more you're going to start seeing better and more consistent results, right? So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is your mindset. You have to make sure that you go into the markets with the right mindset. Number 1, I always put everything in God's hands, right? As you guys know, I'm a man of faith. I always try my absolute best to just put it all in God's hands. I say, God, guide me. What should I do, right? And you'll have that kind of gut feeling, and sometimes God will speak to you more directly. Sometimes, you know what I mean? You might not hear it as directly, but that comes with time, right? But one of the biggest things I would say is making sure that you have the right mindset going into the trade. If you go into the trade thinking, oh, this trade's gonna lose, or this trade's gonna hit my stop loss right away, even if it's subconsciously and you're not doing it consciously, but subconsciously you're like, oh shoot, like I think this is gonna hit my stop loss, then you best believe that that's most likely gonna hit your stop loss. Now, not because you're moving price or whatever, but because you're going into it with that wrong mindset. Hence, sometimes you just get into it just for the heck of it. And you're like, frick. And then after, I'm sure, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure all of us have been there before where we just get into the trade thinking, oh, this feels good. And all of a sudden you go back and you're like, what was I thinking, right? And so that's what I'm saying is you have to go into it with the right mindset, making sure everything checks off all your boxes, making sure that your trading plan is checked off, making sure you're managing your risk, making sure you're not over trading, right? Once everything checks off, then you go into it with the right mindset and you go into it saying, yup, everything checks off, everything looks good on my end, I've done what I had to do, and God willing, this trade's gonna go in my favor. And if it doesn't, that's fine. But I go into it with a positive mindset, right? Expecting nothing of monetary value. You have to learn to detach the money aspect from trading. So go into it not expecting anything about monetary value. Some people do percentage based. I to be honest, for me, I don't mind seeing the dollar signs, like the dollar amount. It doesn't really affect my psychology. So for me, it's like, okay, cool. I'm risking $1,500 to potentially make $4,000, right? Some people that messes up their psychology. So they maybe want to say, okay, you know what? I'm risking 1% or 0.5% to make maybe 2% profit, right? Whatever works for you, you got to figure out what's your best option. And then from there, you're gonna start realizing that you're not focusing on how much you're going to make out of the trade. You're just going into it with the right mindset. You're going into it with the mindset of, you know what? I'm doing everything good. Even though it could be a loss, it's going to be a good loss because you followed all your rules, right? Instead of just kind of like a gamble mindset. Oh, heck, I hope the trade goes in my favor. You're like praying. No. Just go into it with a neutral mindset and just being optimistic and saying, hey, you know what? I followed my rules. If this trade hits my stop loss, cool. That's no problem. I'm not worried because it's only $1,500 in my mind. You know what? That's managing my risk. I'm not over trading, right? And if it hits my take profit, great. I'm up 2%. I'm up $4,000. I'm up $5,000, right? So you have to really go into the markets with the right mindset. If you go into it with the gambling mindset, again, it's going to throw everything off completely, and then you're going to be back into the same cycle. Point number 3, you want to make sure that when you are looking at the markets, you aren't distracted by other people's opinions, right? A lot of times we find ourselves getting caught up with what other people are saying, communities that you're involved in, opinions. Oh, I think it's, long bias. I think it's short bias. I think it's this. Having a community is great, but you also have to understand that you have to go with your gut feeling. You have to go with what you feel is right. Otherwise, you're going to allow all those external influences affect your internal analysis, right? Focus on your craft, get better each day, and be confident in yourself and in your strategy. And trust me, sooner or later, you're gonna be laughing because you're gonna be so confident when you approach the markets that it won't matter what other people think, even though other people might think the market's shorting or the market's going up. It won't really freaking matter because you are following your strategy, you are confident in yourself, and you're confident that whatever result you get, you will be perfectly fine with the result, right? So it's important that when you are within communities, a lot of times there's so many strategies, so many people giving their opinions, and it can be so confusing and super overwhelming. And there's a lot of information out there, right? So you have to be careful, and I want you to kind of keep an eye out on that when you're and this includes my community, right? You don't want to be too overwhelmed with everyone else's opinions, right? Focus on practicing your strategy, becoming a better trader, showing up every single day, practice, back test, everything, right? And sooner or later, you're going to be so confident in what you're doing that it won't matter what people say. It won't matter if people are saying, oh, gold's going to short today, or we're looking for longs or whatever. It won't matter because you're going to be so confident in what you believe in and what you see in the markets that won't affect you at all, right? Now, listen, if you guys are struggling with your trading, maybe you've been having such a hard time, you haven't been able to get even your first payout, or you just even haven't been able to see the fruits of your labor, or even be able to see some money out of the markets or get anything out of it. It's real, and I'm telling you, once you experience it, you will never go back. And that's one of the things that I'm so thankful that I never gave up. A lot of people tend to give up in this industry because there's so much information out there. And I want you to know that it is possible to achieve your goals, but you have to be laser focused and sticking to one strategy. There's so much information out there. And you just really have to stick with what works for you and what you feel resonates the most. So if you're struggling and you'd love to be able to work with me, I do have my own one-on-one mentorship program that I am opening up. I do have currently 3 spots left. As you guys know, it's the holiday season. We're getting close to Christmas and New Year's. So markets are a little bit more unstable. So I tend to focus more with my one-on-one students. So if you want to become one of my one-on-one students in my mentorship program, make sure you let me know in the comments below or send me a DM. Send me a DM on Instagram at PedroFXOfficial, and you'll be able to find me on there. Or you can just click the links below. You'll be able to see the links below to my programs. But like I said, I want to help you guys. 2025 is your year. Remember, put your trust in God first. And remember, stay focused, stay locked in.